What up, Space Fam? Goes in here from Anime Uproar, and I decided to make a video about the latest insane developments in the One Piece story. I can't remember the last time I felt this much hype during one chapter, so definitely stay tuned for that. If you want to see more One Piece chapter reviews, make sure to smash that like button to let me know. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe, and this is crucial. Hit that notification bell or you will miss future One Piece videos. We already got a One Piece playlist on this channel, including recent videos about the Yonko and the Warlord, so definitely check that out. I'll leave a link to the playlist in the description and at the end of this video. Keep in mind there will be manga spoilers. We are talking about the latest One Piece chapter, chapter 974 after all. Now without further ado, let's jump into this epicness. So this chapter is called Onward to Onigashima, which is already hype because that's where Kaido's headquarters are. We are approaching the rematch with a Yonko, and now Kaido is teamed up with Big Mom, the two living Yonko with the highest bounties. We start with a flashback of Denjiro and Hiyori, and we're told that these two have been hiding for a long time. In fact, it was only recently that we found out that Kyoshiro was actually Denjiro the Scabbard this whole time. Here we have some stuff explained. Denjiro had Hiyori prepared with fake blood when the time came. Orochi had no idea that she was the daughter of Odin, but he was crazy about her. Denjiro, wanting to protect her from Orochi, decided that the best way to separate her from Orochi was to stage her death. Thus, when he asked her if she was ready to die in chapter 933 and she said she was, we now know that he was actually talking about this plan with the fake blood. He was taking care of her, keeping a close eye on her as they waited together for the 20 years to pass before they could all finally get revenge on Orochi and Kaido. Denjiro is such an interesting character, and the fact that he kept his identity a secret from everyone else, including his allies, is genius. As we'll see in a little bit, this was a wise and necessary move. He kept his enemies closer than his friends and had to deceive his allies in order to deceive his enemies. The level of discipline and patience something like that takes is unreal. Then we jump to Orochi initially getting news of the Scabbards and Momonosuke returning after 20 years. He's scared because Toki's power was real, she could really send people to the future and save them from the burning building. He got the letter with this information from the traitor. Orochi promises Kaido that they can trust him. The traitor was born into a family of actors and his parents died on stage during the repression of Wano. During the murder, someone said this is the line of the daimyo's killer. We know that the head of the Kurozumi family tried to poison the other daimyo in order to get power for themselves. So this would suggest that the traitor is a Kurozumi. Because of the head of the family's actions, the Kurozumi family members were hunted down and brutally killed, whether they had anything to do with the initial plot or not. This is why the traitor's parents were killed on stage. Orochi tells us that the traitor only knew life on the stage, so he would be perfect for the job. He had more experience acting than being a real person, so who better to pull off a convincing performance? Orochi gave the traitor a devil fruit and told him that he will live like a real Kozuki, and without being noticed by anyone, he would die like a Kozuki. Orochi says that this is the great role that the traitor will play until the end, and the traitor accepts it, saying he was just looking for a way to die. It appears that the traitor is so messed up that his only satisfaction is being someone else entirely. It's a very interesting idea. An artist committing to their great role and even being willing to die in the execution of their artistic role. And yeah, there are a lot of clues here to who the traitor is, but let's carry on for now. Even to Orochi, this traitor is crazy because he was really ready to die with Odin and the others during the execution. For someone who's scared of everything like Orochi, this really doesn't make sense. It's terrifyingly convenient and unbelievable for Orochi how the traitor lives as the perfect Kozuki vassal while sending information with no fuss. Such a character is truly fascinating and you don't come across them often. A character who's willing to commit so completely to a role. This is the Denjiro, aka the double agent, on the enemy's side, drawing a nice parallel within the story and making everything that's going on crazier and more intricate. Then we jump to the present, exactly 20 years after the death of Odin. We're told that this is the story of the Kozuki and Kurozumi clans and the pirate Kaido, and that they're deeply linked. We're reminded that Odin's goal was to open up Wano, and the samurai have jumped 20 years in the future in order to do that. They've also devoted themselves to gathering allies for the fight, including the Straw Hats. I find this very interesting about the Wano arc. It's positioned at times as if the Straw Hats are side characters in the main story about Wano's people rather than the main characters. This approach really foregrounds how well Oda fleshes out the world of One Piece and all of its actual side characters. Because of the depth he gives them, we start to care a lot about the characters of Wano and their fate. Although I do miss the Straw Hats when they're not in chapters, it's necessary for them to step back from the limelight so the emotional climax of this arc can be fully felt. Oda doesn't just want us to want Luffy to win. Separate from Luffy, he wants us to want the good guys we've met from Wano to win as well. And by this point, we're really rooting for the people who carry on Oden's will. Combine that with how much we want the Straw Hats to win, and the emotional stakes couldn't be much higher. We are reminded that 4,200 people should have regrouped at the port, but this idealistic image of the huge number of people hyped up to fight is contrasted with the cold, wet reality. The flashback and all of this time in Wano have been leading up to this moment, and the people who were supposed to show aren't there. We got some waves drawn in a style that you'd recognize from Japanese art, like the Great Wave of Kanagawa. Within the Wano arc, Oda seems to be regularly giving a tribute to Japan and its artistic history through his drawings. Our characters are practically dots that can barely be seen. They're dwarfed by their surroundings and the untamed waves. This panel reflects how powerless our guys must feel right now. In this way, just like Shakespeare does, Oda is giving us a great example of pathetic fallacy at work, where the weather is really giving us a lot of information about how the characters feel. The scabbards present won't let Momonosuke stop them. Even if the others didn't show they're gonna fight, they won't let everything that led up to this moment and all of the sacrifices be for nothing. Trying to comfort Momonosuke, the scabbards try to reframe the lack of manpower by saying that the small group will give them a chance to sneak up on Kaido and cut off his head. However, those words are not too comforting when you know that Kaido has survived worse than a sword to the neck many times. However, they are truly brave and they vow to not give up as long as they live. Shinobu and Momonosuke are seen shedding tears in the rain while the others head to Kaido. Then the idea of a traitor is brought up. Kinemon says he didn't want to think about it, but there's definitely an enemy spy among them. He even says that at the point they're at, he doesn't even want to know who it is. The situation seems so hopeless already. The last thing they want to do is confront the betrayal of one of the few people they trust before they die. Kikunojo, though, won't accept that. She wants Kinemon to find the snitch so they can move on. But rather than thinking about it, Kinemon says that the traitor won't reveal themselves, and yeah, traitors usually won't. That's kind of the point. Finally, a crying Kanjuro has to admit that he's the traitor since no one seems to want to accuse each other. Kinemon's face really shows his shock. It seems like a joke since they were all condemned to boil 20 years ago. And the even crazy by Orochi standards, Kanjuro admits that it's exactly by dying with them that he would have completed his role to perfection. As a kid, he lost his heart, probably when his parents were killed before him, and since then, he's been looking for a place to die. From the start, it was all the act of a master actor. A lot of this makes sense. He ate the devil fruit Orochi gave him. With it, he could create drawings that would help him communicate with Orochi. He's actually dressed as a kabuki performer, which reflects the fact that he's been performing this whole time. Because of his devil fruit powers, he's associated with art. And who else would be willing to carry out a performance, even if it costs them their lives, but an artist bent on giving a brilliant performance? Still, despite the fact that it was heavily hinted at, and I only named a few clues, the reveal still has impact. Raizo's reaction is the best with his nose running overtime. Kanjuro reveals that he spent happy hours with them. He has no resentment and never desired to harm them. He just passed on info to Orochi. When pressed as to why he did it, he reveals that he's a Kurozumi. So it does make sense that he'd have a grudge against the Kozukis. Kanjuro then tries to suggest that Yasu died for nothing, since Kanjuro just snitched about the change of time and place. He points out how the other scabbards had clues, and they were even suspicious, but no one actually did anything about it, even though they should have known that he was a mole. He's rubbing it in, and we see beast pirate ships approaching. Kinemon can't take it anymore and cuts Kanjuro's head off. But it was just a drawing. The real Kanjuro has actually taken Momonosuke hostage at the port. He would have gladly fought with them to the death to complete his role, but Orochi told him that it was the end of the show and to capture Momonosuke on top of that. So he finally dropped his mask. The performance was so good that he managed to convince everyone that he was bad at drawing even though he was excellent. This way, no one would suspect him to not be on the boat, and he could get away with creating any creature that he drew well because it would go undetected. He exaggerated how bad he was at drawing so that no one would suspect him, and in a series like One Piece, we, the readers, are trained to accept that there are plenty of funny comedic relief characters like that. So even we were trained to let our guard down and just assume that he was bad at drawing. Oda pulled a fast one on all of us. Up until now, this chapter has been amazing, but it starts to get even better. A shot goes off and hits an enemy ship. We see Luffy Scar, and he says, "Sorry, we are a little late." Next, a submarine comes up, picking up our samurai along the way. They're rebuked a bit for underestimating the sea and using such a tiny boat, and then we see Law's tattoos. Another shot is fired at the enemies from the other side, and although you can't see this pirate's face either, it's clearly Captain Kidd. He says there are many samurai and boats waiting like idiots on the opposite port. There are reinforcements, and the scabbards are relieved to find out that Luffy's finally arrived. This trio of the worst generation are back together again, and they straight up plan to attack the allied Yonko Kaido and thus Big Mom. Kanjuro is shocked, not expecting this. The beast pirates thought they'd just have to sink one small boat with some samurai on it, but now they gotta face 3 of the pirates from the worst generation. Luffy calls the pirates out for taking on a small boat of samurai and says at sea we deal with pirates. We get panels of each of the trio side by side, Law, Luffy, and Kid, and dear lord, the hype is real. We finally have Luffy back, we got Law, and damn does he look cool here, and we got Kid to boot. An epic hype storm of an alliance, and they're going to take on Kaido and Big Mom, the 2 frickin' Yonko with the 2 biggest frickin' bounties right now. If these guys really take down 2 Yonko, then One Piece could escalate very, very quickly after this. Let me know in the comments, what do you think is gonna happen next? Do you expect some other players here? These guys are awesome, but we are talking about Kaido and Big Mom here. Luffy looks confident here after his previous defeat, but I think we have to see even more help coming their way. We know that Blackbeard is amazing at taking advantage of opportunities, so I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up to help them take down Kaido and Big Mom, 2 of his biggest rivals. We also saw Moria with him, and he's been wanting revenge on Kaido, and what better time for that than now? So we may well see Blackbeard and Moria show up, and with that many Yonko, Shanks might even frickin' make an appearance, who knows at this point. Right now, the sky's the limit as to what can happen, and I could not be more hyped for the next chapter. I do think that the Wano story was well done, but I gotta admit, it feels so good that Luffy, my boy Law, and the rest are finally back and headed straight for the Kaido fight, no less. This could be right up there with the battle at Marineford or even surpass it, so let's just say, I'm very much looking forward to the upcoming chapters. And that is it for this chapter review. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it, make sure to smash that like button to let me know. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe, and this is crucial, hit that notification bell or you will miss future One Piece videos. And let me know in the comments if you do want to see more of these reviews on a weekly basis. A special thank you goes to our patrons over on Patreon who help us survive YouTube issues and who help make videos like this one possible. First and foremost, I want to thank our the 1-tier patrons, the ones who stand atop all clans: Steven Ingrata, Alola Natem, The World, Steelers, The School Bus, Tyson Quarino, A Quiet Respect, and Pate Hefa. And I can't forget our Pro Hero tier patrons, the one and only Gilgamesh, Nothing But a Fan, Jason Wilson, Odin, Anatoly Kazatsky, Alpha Dio, Angel Cruz, Team Sparky 65, Rohan Kapoor, Cricket XP, $50 Beat, Ted No Ted, Jalter, Joe Stanton, Very Gucci, Jessica K. LaFond, Alicia Actor, Emperor Otaku, and JCC Waka. Thank you all so much. If you enjoy our work, you can support more of it by going over to patreon.com/animeuproar and becoming a patron today for as little as $1. If you do so, you'll get your name featured in future videos alongside these amazing people right here, and you'll even get access to our private patron-only Discord, where we talk about anime life and of course, thank memes. So check out patreon.com/animeuproar, link in the description if you're interested. You can also now join the YouTube channel and support more content that way if you prefer. Whichever way you choose to support us, you can get the same great benefits. Thanks again, and until next time, see you, Space Cowboys.